Tonight we start with one bell, one blue light, and one big secret. What begins as a strange night soon turned into a fight for the fate of the world.
At exactly 2:17 in the morning, every bell in Saint Orlan rang once. Not twice, not repeatedly, just once. The sound rolled through the sleeping coastal town like a ripple through glass. Fishermen woke in their cabins. Shopkeepers sat upright in bed. Dogs barked and then fell silent. Even the seabirds nesting along the cliffs exploded into the sky as if fleeing something unseen. At the top of the lighthouse overlooking the harbor, 18-year-old Cassian Venn jolted awake. For a moment he didn't know what had disturbed him. Then he realized. The room was glowing blue. Cassian threw aside his blanket and stared. The lighthouse flame. It had changed color. For generations, the beacon of Saint Orlan had burned white. Every keeper knew that. Every sailor trusted it. Tonight it burned with a cold blue light. The glow painted the stone walls with strange shadows. Cassian's pulse quickened. "Grandfather." No answer. His eyes moved toward the wooden chair beside the window. Empty. That wasn't normal. Elias Venn never left the lighthouse at night. Not ever. Cassian grabbed his coat and hurried down the spiral staircase. "Grandfather." His voice echoed through the tower. Nothing answered. At the bottom floor he stopped. The front door stood open. A chill ran down his spine. Outside the night felt wrong. No wind. No crashing waves. No scent of salt. The sea below the cliffs looked smooth and dark like polished stone. Cassian stepped onto the path. Far below, lanterns flickered throughout the town as people emerged from homes, confused by the bell. Then he noticed something even stranger. Every boat in the harbor had turned. Fishing boats, cargo vessels, private skiffs. All of them faced the exact same direction, toward the open ocean, perfectly aligned, as though an invisible hand had arranged them. Footsteps pounded up the cliff path. "Cassian!" He turned. Tomas Reed climbed toward him carrying a lantern. The young boat builder looked pale. "You saw it too?" Tomas asked. "The bells. The boats." Cassian nodded. Neither spoke for several seconds. The silence felt heavy. Then Tomas pointed upward. Cassian followed his gaze. His breath caught. At the very top of the lighthouse stood Elias Venn. Outside, on the narrow maintenance walkway, the old keeper's gray coat fluttered slightly despite the still air. "Cassian!" Tomas shouted. But Elias didn't respond. Instead, the old man slowly raised one arm and pointed toward the horizon. Cassian looked. At first he saw only darkness. Then something appeared. A green light, very far away, deep beyond the harbor mouth. It glowed beneath the water, small at first, then expanding, growing, spreading beneath the sea like liquid emerald fire. The church bell rang again. One single note. A deep vibration answered from beneath the harbor. Cassian felt it through the ground. Tomas staggered backward. What was that? The vibration came again. Stronger. The docks below creaked. Windows rattled. Somewhere in town, people began screaming. Then the impossible happened. The water started disappearing. Not retreating like a tide. Vanishing. Rushing backward toward the glowing horizon. Thousands of tons of seawater drained away with terrifying speed. Boats crashed onto exposed mud. Fish flopped helplessly. Ancient anchors emerged from the seabed. The harbor emptied before their eyes. Within minutes, the ocean floor lay exposed beneath the moonlight. And something stood at its center. A doorway. Cassian stared. It rose from the mud like a monument buried for centuries. Black stone. Massive. Taller than the town church. Strange symbols covered its surface. Each symbol glowed with faint green light. Tomas whispered a prayer. Cassian couldn't move. His mind refused to accept what his eyes were seeing. The impossible doorway stood where water should have been. Then Elias began descending the lighthouse stairs. Cassian ran inside. He reached the entrance just as the old keeper emerged. Elias looked exhausted, older than Cassian had ever seen him, and there were tears in his eyes. "What is that?" Cassian demanded. His grandfather looked toward the harbor. The beginning. The beginning of what? Elias didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached beneath his coat and removed a small iron key hanging from a chain. Cassian recognized it instantly. The key had been around his grandfather's neck for as long as he could remember. "What does that open?" Cassian asked. The old man gave a sad smile. "For 70 years, I've told everyone it opens nothing." "You lied." "Yes." Tomas stared. The green light outside brightened. "What is happening?" he asked. Elias looked at both young men. Then he said words that made Cassian's blood run cold. "It happened once before." Cassian frowned. "What happened before?" "The harbor emptied." Silence. "That's impossible. It was 70 years ago. People would have remembered." Elias slowly shook his head. "No." "Why not?" "Because everyone who witnessed it forgot." The room fell silent. Cassian searched his grandfather's face. There was no sign of a joke. No confusion. Only fear. Real fear. For the first time in his life, Cassian realized his grandfather was terrified. Outside, horns sounded throughout Saint Orlan. Town guards gathered near the exposed harbor. People carried rifles, lanterns, axes, anything that made them feel less helpless. Elias placed the iron key into Cassian's hand. The metal felt strangely warm. Cassian looked down at it, then back at his grandfather. "Why are you giving me this?" Elias swallowed. "When that door opens, they'll ask for the keeper." "You're the keeper." "No." The old man's voice broke. "I was only protecting the title." Cassian felt his stomach tighten. "What are you talking about?" Elias closed Cassian's fingers around the key. "You are the keeper." Before Cassian could respond, the lighthouse beacon changed. The blue flame turned bright green. A powerful rumble shook the cliffs. Outside, the enormous black doorway split down the center. A crack of glowing light appeared between the stone halves. The opening widened. The entire harbor fell silent. Even the screaming stopped. Then a voice emerged from the doorway. Ancient, deep, clear enough to be heard across the entire town. And it spoke only 2 words. Cassian Venn. The young man froze, because whatever lived beyond that doorway knew exactly who he was.
Okay, this just got very big. How does that door know his name?
The voice echoed across Saint Orlan. Cassian Venn. No one moved. No one breathed. The name seemed to hang in the air long after the sound itself had vanished. Hundreds of townspeople stood frozen along the exposed harbor. Lanterns trembled in shaking hands. Children clung to parents. The town guards lowered their rifles without realizing it. Because something about that voice carried an impossible weight. It wasn't loud. It simply sounded certain, as if it had spoken Cassian's name thousands of times before this night. Cassian stared toward the giant doorway. The crack of green light between the stone halves continued widening. Something was opening it from within. His grandfather's hand tightened around his shoulder. "Listen to me." Cassian barely heard him. "Grandfather, listen." The old man's voice carried an urgency Cassian had never heard before. "You must not go through that doorway." Cassian turned. "What is it?" Elias looked toward the harbor. His face had gone pale. "I don't know. You said this happened before." "It did." "Then tell me what happened." The old keeper swallowed. "I was 11 years old." Tomas stared. "You saw this?" "Yes." "What came out?" Elias closed his eyes. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he whispered, "I can't remember." The answer struck Cassian harder than any explanation could have. His grandfather looked genuinely frustrated. Not secretive. Not dishonest. Frustrated. As if there were missing pieces inside his own mind. "I remember the bell," Elias continued. "I remember the harbor draining. I remember standing exactly where you're standing." His hands trembled. "But everything after that is gone." The giant doorway groaned. The sound rolled across the exposed seabed like distant thunder. People screamed. The stone halves slowly separated. Green light flooded the harbor. Cassian raised a hand against the brightness. Then shadows appeared inside. Figures. Dozens of them. Standing motionless beyond the doorway. Watching. The crowd erupted. Some people fled toward town. Others dropped to their knees. The mayor shouted orders nobody followed. The guards aimed their rifles. Tomas grabbed Cassian's arm. "We need to leave." Cassian couldn't. Something inside him refused. The figures beyond the doorway weren't frightening. That was the strange part. They felt familiar, like faces seen in dreams. The first figure stepped forward. The entire town watched. A man emerged from the light. He appeared human, tall, dark-haired, wearing a long black coat stitched with silver symbols. His boots touched the muddy harbor floor. The green light behind him faded slightly. Then another figure emerged. And another. And another. Within minutes, nearly 50 people stood outside the doorway. Men, women, young, old, all dressed in dark clothing marked with the same silver designs. Not one carried a weapon. Not one looked afraid. The first man scanned the crowd. His eyes settled on Cassian immediately. A faint smile crossed his face. "There you are." Cassian felt cold. The stranger began walking toward the lighthouse. The crowd parted instinctively. Nobody ordered them to move. They simply did. The man stopped 20 feet away. For several moments, neither spoke. Then the stranger bowed his head slightly. "Keeper." The word hit Cassian harder than hearing his name. His grandfather stepped forward. "Leave him alone." The stranger's expression softened. "Elias Venn. You know me. We know every keeper." The old man visibly tensed. The stranger looked back toward the doorway. The time came sooner than expected. "What are you?" Tomas demanded. The stranger looked at him, then smiled. "A fair question." His eyes returned to Cassian. "My name is Aaron Vale." "Who are you?" "A messenger." "From where?" Aaron pointed toward the open doorway. "From the place beneath the tides." The crowd murmured. Fear spread like fire. Cassian forced himself to speak. "Why did you call my name?" "Because we've waited 18 years to meet you." The harbor fell silent again. Aaron slowly removed something from inside his coat. The guards raised their rifles. He ignored them. In his hand rested a small object. Compass. Old brass. Weathered by age. Cassian froze. He knew that compass. He had seen drawings of it countless times. His mother had drawn it. Again and again. Before she disappeared. The same compass. The same carved markings. The same broken needle. Cassian's heart pounded. "Where did you get that?" Aaron studied him carefully. "Your mother gave it to us." The world stopped. Tomas looked at him. Elias looked away. Cassian's voice cracked. "My mother is dead." "No." Aaron's answer came instantly. "No, she isn't."
Wait a second. I did not see that coming at all.
Everything inside Cassian shattered. For 10 years he had believed she drowned during a storm beyond the northern cliffs. Everyone believed it. The entire town. Even his grandfather. Or so he thought. Cassian slowly turned toward Elias. The old keeper couldn't meet his eyes. That told him everything. "You knew." Elias said nothing. "You knew. Cassian. You knew." The lighthouse windows rattled as he shouted. The crowd stepped back. The old man's eyes filled with tears. "I hoped it would never come to this." "Is she alive?" Elias lowered his head. "Yes." The word struck like lightning. Cassian staggered backward. For years he had stood beside a grave marker overlooking the sea. For years he had mourned. For years he had carried questions nobody could answer. And all along it had been a lie. Aaron watched silently, not interfering, not smiling, simply waiting. Cassian's hands shook. "Where is she?" The messenger pointed toward the glowing doorway. "Beyond the threshold." "What is the threshold?" The green light pulsed. The air itself seemed to vibrate. Aaron took a slow breath. The oldest city remaining in this world. The crowd erupted into confused whispers. Cassian stared. "What city?" "The city beneath the sea." A distant horn suddenly echoed from beyond the cliffs. Everyone turned. Another horn answered. Then another. And another. Not from Saint Orlan. From the ocean. Hundreds of lights appeared on the horizon, moving toward shore, fast. Aaron's calm expression vanished. For the first time he looked concerned. The people behind him exchanged nervous glances. Elias looked toward the approaching lights and whispered a curse. Cassian had never heard his grandfather curse before. "What is it?" he asked. The old keeper's face had turned white. "They found us." Aaron nodded grimly. Too soon. The approaching lights multiplied. Dozens. Then hundreds. The sea beyond the drained harbor began glowing red. Not green. Red. A completely different light. Hostile. Violent. Ancient. Aaron stepped closer to Cassian. His voice dropped. "You must choose now." "Choose what?" "Stay here." The messenger looked toward the advancing crimson horizon. "Or come with us before they arrive." Cassian swallowed. "Who is coming?" Aaron's answer barely rose above a whisper. "The ones who destroyed the first keepers." The red glow surged brighter. And somewhere beyond the darkness, something enormous roared beneath the ocean floor. The roar beneath the ocean shook the cliffs. Stone cracked. Windows shattered across Saint Orlan. The crimson glow spreading across the distant sea brightened until it painted the clouds blood red. Panic exploded through the town. People ran toward their homes. Others rushed inland. Some simply stood frozen, unable to process what they were witnessing. Cassian's eyes remained locked on the approaching horizon. The red lights were moving impossibly fast. Hundreds of them, perhaps thousands, like an entire fleet advancing beneath the surface. Aaron grabbed Cassian's shoulder. "There's no time." "What are they?" The messenger glanced toward the horizon. His calm had disappeared completely. They were supposed to remain asleep. Who? The Deep Court. The name meant nothing to Cassian. Yet something about it made his stomach tighten. Another roar rolled through the sea. This one closer. Much closer. The exposed harbor floor trembled. Mud rippled. Ancient chains buried beneath the seabed suddenly emerged from the earth. Massive iron links thicker than tree trunks. The crowd screamed. Aaron turned toward the people emerging from the glowing doorway. "Move everyone inside." Immediately the dark-clothed figures began helping townspeople toward the threshold. No arguments. No explanations. Only urgency. Tomas grabbed Cassian's arm. "We need to go." Cassian pulled away. "My mother." Aaron nodded. "She's waiting." The words hit harder than the roaring sea. For 10 years Cassian had imagined her final moments. Now every memory felt uncertain. Every grief felt unfinished. His grandfather stepped beside him. Elias looked older than ever. The green light reflected in his eyes. "There are things I should have told you." Cassian stared at him. "Things? I promised her I wouldn't." "Promised who?" "Your mother." The answer hurt. Not because of what it revealed, because it confirmed how much had been hidden. The old keeper looked toward the doorway. "I thought I was protecting you." "By lying to me?" Elias flinched. Cassian immediately regretted it. The old man looked exhausted, broken, as if he had been carrying an impossible burden for years. A distant explosion interrupted them. Everyone turned. Far out beyond the harbor mouth, a massive column of water erupted into the sky. The crimson light intensified. Something gigantic moved beneath the surface. For one terrifying second Cassian saw its outline. A shape larger than any ship. Long. Serpentine. Covered in glowing red patterns. Then it vanished beneath the sea again. Tomas whispered, "Dear gods." Aaron's expression darkened. "They're here." The messenger pointed toward the threshold. "Now, Cassian." The ground shook again. This time the giant doorway responded. The green light brightened. Symbols along the stone surface awakened. Thousands of glowing lines spreading like veins across black rock. The opening widened further. Beyond it, Cassian could finally see more than light. He saw buildings. Impossible buildings. Towers of silver stone rising into a sky that shouldn't exist. Bridges suspended over glowing rivers. Floating lanterns drifting through the air. An entire city hidden beyond the doorway. A city larger than Saint Orlan. Larger than anything Cassian had ever imagined. The sight stole his breath. Aaron followed his gaze. Threshold city. Cassian barely heard him. The city seemed alive. Beautiful. Ancient. Impossible. And somewhere inside it, his mother. Another explosion echoed from the sea. Closer. The deep court was coming. Cassian looked at Tomas. His best friend looked terrified, yet determined. "What do we do?" Tomas asked. Cassian didn't know. Part of him wanted answers. Part of him wanted to stay. Part of him wanted to run. Then something happened. The iron key in his pocket grew hot. Painfully hot. He pulled it out. The metal glowed green. Symbols appeared across its surface. Symbols that hadn't been there before. Aaron saw them immediately. His eyes widened. "No!" Elias looked equally shocked. "What?" Cassian demanded. The messenger slowly stepped backward. "The key has awakened." "What does that mean?" Aaron stared at him. For the first time since arriving, the messenger seemed uncertain. "That shouldn't be possible." The key pulsed again. A wave of energy burst outward. Everyone nearby felt it. The green light inside the doorway reacted instantly. The entire hidden city brightened. Tower after tower igniting in response. As though recognizing something. Or someone. The people behind Aaron dropped to one knee. One by one. Dozens of them. Heads lowered. Silent. Cassian looked around in confusion. What are they doing? Nobody answered. Even Aaron seemed stunned. Then an elderly woman emerged from the threshold. Unlike the others, she wore white. Silver hair flowed over her shoulders. Her eyes glowed faintly green. The moment she saw the key, she stopped walking. Shock crossed her face. Then tears appeared. She approached slowly. Every person in the harbor moved aside. The old woman reached Cassian. For several seconds, she simply stared at him. Then she whispered, "It truly is him." Cassian frowned. "Him?" The woman gently touched the glowing key. "After all these centuries." The words made no sense. Cassian stepped back. "I don't understand." The old woman looked into his eyes. "You carry the mark of the first keeper." The harbor became silent again. Even the distant roars seemed to fade. Cassian shook his head. "No. Yes. I've never been beyond Saint Orlan. This began long before your birth." The old woman's voice trembled. "Long before mine." Aaron looked equally confused. "My lady." "That's impossible." The woman slowly turned toward him. "Nothing about this night is impossible anymore." Suddenly a deafening roar shattered the moment. The sea exploded. A gigantic crimson shape rose from the water. People screamed. Cassian stared in horror. The creature towered above the cliffs. Hundreds of feet long. Covered in armored scales. Its glowing red eyes burned like twin suns. More shapes surfaced behind it. Then more. And more. An entire army emerging from the depths. The deep court. Aaron's face drained of color. The old woman whispered, "They've awakened the Leviathans." The lead creature opened its jaws. A beam of crimson energy erupted toward Saint Orlan. The lighthouse. Cassian's lighthouse. His home. The blast struck. The tower vanished in an explosion of fire and stone. Cassian felt the shockwave hit his chest. The lighthouse collapsed into the sea. Gone. Completely gone. For several seconds nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Cassian stared at the burning ruins. The place where he had grown up. The place his family had protected for generations. Destroyed in a single moment.
That hit hard. Now this story feels a lot more personal.
The Leviathan roared again. This time it looked directly at him. Directly. As if it knew exactly who he was. As if it had crossed the ocean for him alone. Then a voice echoed inside Cassian's mind. Not through his ears. Inside his thoughts. Ancient. Cold. Merciless. "At last, we have found the heir." The voice inside Cassian's mind vanished. But the terror remained. At the edge of the drained harbor, the colossal Leviathan stared directly at him. Its crimson eyes glowed through the darkness like twin suns. The creature knew him. Somehow, the realization froze every thought inside his head. The old woman in white looked horrified. No! Aaron turned toward her. My lady! She never answered. Instead, she grabbed Cassian's wrist. Inside. Now. The urgency in her voice shattered the paralysis gripping everyone nearby. The people from Threshold City immediately sprang into action. They began moving civilians toward the doorway. Fast, disciplined, organized, as though they had rehearsed this exact moment for years. Perhaps they had. Another Leviathan surfaced. Then another. Massive crimson bodies emerged from the ocean like living mountains. The deep court was arriving. And with them came something worse. Figures. Thousands of figures. Dark armored warriors standing upon the backs of the sea beasts. Their armor appeared carved from black coral. Their helmets concealed their faces. Each carried a spear glowing with crimson energy. Tomas stared in disbelief. That's an army. Aaron nodded grimly. Yes. The messenger looked toward Cassian. And they're here for you. The words hit harder than the Leviathans themselves. Cassian looked at the glowing key in his hand. The metal continued pulsing, almost like a heartbeat. What am I? The old woman finally answered. The question isn't what. Her eyes met his. It's who. A deafening roar interrupted her. The largest Leviathan opened its jaws again. Crimson energy gathered inside its throat. The creature was preparing another attack. This time toward the town itself. Hundreds of innocent people were still trapped in Saint Orlan. Children, families, friends. Cassian's heart pounded. We have to stop it. Aaron grabbed him. No. If we do nothing, they'll die. If you stay, everyone dies. The certainty in the messenger's voice frightened him. Another voice suddenly echoed across the harbor. A different voice. Cold, powerful, inhuman. Bring us the air. The words came from the armored army. A figure stood atop the largest Leviathan. Unlike the others, this warrior wore silver-black armor. A crown of crimson crystal surrounded his helmet. He stepped forward. The sea itself seemed to respond. Waves rose despite the drained harbor. Red lightning flashed across the sky. The crowned warrior raised a spear. Deliver the air. His voice rolled across the cliffs. And the town will be spared. No one believed him. Not after the lighthouse. Not after the destruction. The old woman in white slowly stepped in front of Cassian. Her expression hardened. Valor. The warrior tilted his head. My lady Seraphine. The hatred between them felt ancient. Personal. Dangerous. Valor lowered his spear slightly. 3 centuries. Not long enough. Still protecting the bloodline? Seraphine's eyes narrowed. I swore an oath. The crowned warrior laughed. The sound sent chills through everyone present. Then die with it. He thrust the spear forward. Instantly every Leviathan roared. The ocean exploded. Crimson energy erupted toward the harbor. Aaron shouted. Move! Everything happened at once. Threshold guardians formed defensive lines. Green shields appeared across the exposed seabed. The crimson attack struck. The collision lit the entire coastline. Cassian was thrown off his feet. The world became noise. Light, heat, mud, stone. For several seconds he couldn't hear anything. Then sound returned. Screaming. Explosions. Chaos. The battle had begun. Threshold warriors poured from the doorway. Dozens. Then hundreds. Their silver weapons flashed beneath the green light. The deep court advanced across the drained harbor. Black armor against silver. Red energy against green. Ancient enemies meeting once more. Cassian struggled to his feet. The key burned brighter than ever. Every pulse seemed synchronized with the city behind the threshold. Tomas grabbed his shoulder. We need to leave. Before Cassian could answer, Seraphine appeared beside them. Blood stained her sleeve, yet her eyes remained focused. Determined. You must enter the city. No. Her expression hardened. Cassian. People are dying. People will continue dying if you stay. The old woman pointed toward Threshold City. Everything depends on you reaching the archive. The archive. The place where the first keeper left the truth. Cassian hesitated. The first keeper. Again that title. Again that mystery. Who was this person? Why did everyone act as if he was connected to them? A nearby explosion interrupted his thoughts. One of the harbor warehouses collapsed. The battle was spreading. Valor's army kept advancing. The green defenders were losing ground. Aaron appeared, breathing heavily. The western shield is falling. Seraphine nodded. Then she turned toward Cassian. What she said next changed everything. Your mother is waiting there. Cassian froze. The words cut through every doubt, every question, every fear. His mother. Alive. Waiting. The choice suddenly became simple. Tomas looked at him. We're going together. Cassian nodded. The two friends exchanged a glance. No more words were necessary. Seraphine smiled sadly. You remind me of someone. Who? The last keeper. Before Cassian could ask more, the old woman placed her hand over the glowing key. The symbols ignited. A doorway of green light opened beside them. Smaller than the threshold. Different. Hidden. A passage. Aaron looked surprised. You still remember how? Seraphine ignored him. Her eyes remained fixed on Cassian. This path leads directly to the archive. What about you? The old woman smiled. The city has protected your family for centuries. She looked toward the battlefield. Tonight it's our turn to protect you. Another explosion shook the harbor. Valor's forces had reached the outer defenses. The battle was moving closer. Much closer. There was no more time. Seraphine stepped back. Go! Cassian hesitated only a moment. Then he gripped the key tightly and entered the green passage. Tomas followed. The light swallowed them both. For a brief moment Cassian felt weightless. The world vanished. The battle disappeared. The sounds of war faded. Then the light cleared. Cassian stumbled forward. And stopped. The archive stood before him. It wasn't a building. It was a mountain. A colossal structure carved directly into crystal stone. Thousands of glowing pathways spiraled around its surface. Floating symbols drifted through the air. Ancient energy pulsed beneath every wall. The sight was overwhelming. Impossible. Beautiful. Terrifying. Then he noticed the woman standing at the entrance. Waiting. Watching. Tears filled her eyes. Cassian's breath caught. Because he recognized her instantly. Not from memory. From countless old drawings. From faded photographs. From dreams he had never forgotten. His mother. Alive. And standing only a few steps away. After all that pain, he is finally face to face with her. Cassian couldn't move. The woman standing before the archive looked exactly as he remembered. The same dark hair. The same gentle eyes. The same small scar above her left eyebrow from the time she slipped while repairing a fishing net. 10 years. 10 years of believing she was dead. 10 years of grief. 10 years of questions. And now she stood before him as though no time had passed at all. Cassian. Her voice broke. The sound shattered the last wall inside him. Mother. The word escaped as a whisper. Then he was running. Across the crystal courtyard. Past floating symbols. Past glowing pillars. Past every unanswered question. She met him halfway. Their embrace nearly knocked them both to the ground. For several seconds neither spoke. Neither could. Tears flowed freely. Years of loss collapsing into a single moment. Tomas quietly looked away, giving them privacy. Eventually Cassian pulled back. His hands trembled. You're alive. His mother smiled through tears. Yes. You let me think you were dead. Pain flashed across her face. I know. Do you have any idea what that did to me? The question landed like a blade. She closed her eyes. I never wanted you to suffer. Then why? Cassian's voice cracked. Why leave? A long silence followed. Then she gently took his hand. Because they would have killed you. The answer stunned him. What? The deep court. The warmth vanished from her expression. Fear replaced it. Old fear. Deep fear. They were hunting the bloodline. Cassian frowned. What bloodline? His mother looked toward the enormous archive. The First Keepers. Again, that title. Every road seemed to lead back to it. Every secret, every lie, every battle, everything connected to a person he had never met. She nodded toward the entrance. Come. The giant crystal doors opened as they approached. Ancient mechanisms hummed to life. Inside, the archive stretched beyond imagination. Towering shelves rose thousands of feet overhead. Floating platforms drifted through open space. Books, scrolls, crystal tablets, countless records suspended in glowing fields of energy, felt less like a library and more like the memory of an entire civilization. Cassian stared. How old is this place? His mother smiled faintly. Older than every kingdom above the sea. They walked deeper inside. The air glowed with soft silver light. Whispers echoed from nowhere, as if the archive itself were alive. Finally, they reached a circular chamber. At its center stood a pedestal. Upon it rested a single crystal sphere. The moment Cassian approached, the key in his pocket reacted. Green light burst from both objects. The sphere awakened. Images exploded into existence around them. Entire worlds formed from light. Ancient oceans. Lost cities. Unknown stars. Cassian stepped back. What is this? The memory chamber. His mother's voice was solemn. The First Keeper left his story here. The crystal sphere brightened. The images sharpened. A man appeared. Tall, dark-haired, wearing robes covered in glowing symbols. His face seemed strangely familiar. Not identical, but close enough to make Cassian uneasy. The man looked directly at them, as though speaking across centuries. My name was Aurelian. His voice filled the chamber. And if you are seeing this, the seal has failed. The image shifted. Cassian watched cities rise beneath oceans. Civilizations flourish. Kingdoms spread across the world. Thousands of years unfolding in moments. Our ancestors once ruled both land and sea. Aurelian continued. There was no division. The images changed. War appeared. Massive creatures emerged from dark waters. Leviathans. Armies. Fire. Death. The deep court desired dominion. The battle scenes intensified. Entire continents burned. Oceans turned crimson. Millions died. Cassian watched in stunned silence. Then Aurelian raised a glowing key. The very same key Cassian carried. To stop them, I created the seal. A massive structure appeared beneath the ocean floor. An enormous prison. Ancient beyond comprehension. The deep court was imprisoned. The vision darkened. But the seal required a guardian. Aurelian looked directly into the viewer. A keeper. The images shifted again. Generation after generation passed. Different faces. Different eras. Different lives. Yet each carried the same key. Each protected the same secret. The keeper line. Cassian's family. His bloodline. His destiny. Everything suddenly made terrible sense. The lighthouse. The hidden city. The key. His mother's disappearance. All of it connected. The final image appeared. Aurelian standing beside a giant stone door, almost identical to the one in Saint Orlan harbor. His expression was grave. If the seal ever weakens. He paused. The heir must choose. The vision flickered. Cassian stepped forward. Choose what? The image continued. The prison can only be restored through sacrifice. A terrible feeling formed inside Cassian. No. Aurelian's face hardened. The heir must surrender the key. The crystal sphere trembled. The vision became unstable. The keeper survives. Hope appeared briefly, then vanished. But the heir does not.
After all that pain, he is finally face to face with her.
The chamber fell silent. Cassian stared, unable to breathe, unable to think. His mother closed her eyes. Tomas looked horrified. The truth settled like ice. The entire bloodline existed for one purpose. One final purpose. The keeper. The heir. The sacrifice. Everything had been leading toward this moment. Cassian slowly looked at his mother. Tears streamed down her face. Now he understood why she had hidden him. why she had left, why she had lied. She wasn't protecting a child. She was trying to save her son from destiny itself. A sudden explosion shook the archive. The floor trembled. Dust fell from above. Another explosion followed. Closer. Much closer. Everyone froze. Aaron's voice suddenly echoed through the chamber from a communication crystal. Urgent. Panicked. They've breached the outer walls. Cassian's mother went pale. The messenger continued. Valor is inside the city. The chamber fell silent. Then Aaron's final words arrived. And they changed everything. He isn't looking for the key anymore. A pause. Terrible pause. Then, he's looking for the keeper's mother. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. He's looking for the keeper's mother. Cassian felt the blood drain from his face. His mother stood motionless. Not surprised. Not confused. As though she had always known this moment would come. The crystal communicator crackled again. Explosions echoed behind Aaron's voice. The eastern defenses are gone. A scream sounded somewhere in the background. Then steel collided with steel. The transmission cut out. Silence filled the chamber. For a moment nobody moved. Then Cassian's mother stepped toward the exit. No! Cassian grabbed her arm. She turned. Her eyes were calm. Far too calm. He wants me. He'll kill you. Yes. The answer hit him like a punch. No. Cassian. No. His voice echoed through the archive. Every emotion he had buried over 10 years erupted at once. I just got you back. Tears appeared in her eyes. So did I. The words hurt more than anything else. Tomas looked away. The chamber suddenly felt too small. Too quiet. Too unfair. Another violent tremor shook the mountain-sized archive. This time a section of crystal ceiling shattered. Fragments crashed onto the floor. Somewhere above them people were fighting. Dying. Threshold City was falling. Cassian stared at the glowing key in his hand. All his life he had wanted answers. Now he had them. And every answer carried a cost. His mother stepped forward and placed both hands on his face. When she spoke, her voice trembled. I need you to listen. Cassian shook his head. No. Please. The single word stopped him. For 10 years he had imagined this reunion. He had imagined 1,000 conversations. None of them looked like this. None ended with goodbye. I didn't leave because I wanted to. Her eyes shone with tears. I left because the deep court discovered the prophecy. What prophecy? She looked toward the crystal sphere. The one about you. A chill ran through him. The air. She nodded. The first keeper left more than one message. Cassian frowned. What are you talking about? Without answering, she walked to the sphere. Her hand touched its surface. The crystal awakened again. New images appeared. Ancient memories hidden beneath the first. Aurelian returned. The first keeper. This time his expression seemed different. Sadder. More human. If you are seeing this message, he said, then my greatest fear has come to pass. The vision shifted. Cassian saw the ancient prison beneath the sea. Saw the deep court trapped within it. Saw the key creating the seal. Then he noticed something new. A second object. Hidden beside the key. A crystal crown. Aurelian continued. The sacrifice was never the only path. Cassian froze. His mother looked equally shocked. What? The first keeper raised the crystal crown. There exists another choice. The vision flickered. The image weakened. As though this memory had been intentionally hidden. The crown of tides can command the Leviathans. The chamber became silent. Every person present stared at the vision. Aurelian continued. If the crown is restored, the image distorted. Fragments of words disappeared. The prison may be rebuilt without sacrifice. Hope appeared. For the first time. Real hope. Then the image darkened. But the crown was lost. The vision showed a battle. Chaos. Fire. The crown shattering into pieces. Fragments scattered across the world. The deep court spent centuries hunting the fragments. Aurelian's expression hardened. They must never find them. The message ended. The sphere dimmed. Silence followed. Cassian looked at his mother. You knew. She slowly nodded. Part of it. You never told anyone? We never found a fragment. Another explosion interrupted them. Closer than before. This time they heard screams inside the archive itself. Someone was already in the mountain. The enemy had arrived. Aaron suddenly burst into the chamber. Blood covered his armor. His breathing was ragged. The city is collapsing. His eyes landed on Cassian's mother. Relief crossed his face. Thank the tides. Then his expression darkened. Valor is here. The room froze. Aaron looked toward Cassian. He brought a Leviathan into the city. What? It's tearing through the lower districts. The messenger struggled to catch his breath. The defenders can't stop it. Threshold City. The hidden city that had survived for centuries. The city beneath the sea. Was dying. Cassian looked toward the distant exit. He could almost hear the battle now. The screams. The destruction. The fear. Then something unexpected happened. The glowing key suddenly lifted from his hand. On its own. Green energy erupted through the chamber. The crystal sphere reacted. So did the walls. The entire archive awakened. Thousands of symbols ignited simultaneously. A deafening pulse spread across the city. Everyone stared. Cassian felt something inside him change. Connection. Ancient. Vast. Powerful. Knowledge flooded his mind. Not memories. Instincts. He suddenly understood things he had never learned. How the archive functioned. How the key worked. How the city was connected. The first keeper had left more than messages. He had left part of himself. Inside the key, Cassian staggered. Visions flashed before his eyes. A ruined temple. A frozen mountain. A desert buried beneath glass. 3 locations. 3 fragments. The crown. He saw them. Clearly. For a single moment. Then the visions vanished. The key dropped back into his hand. The room stared at him. Aaron spoke first. What happened? Cassian slowly looked up. I know where the fragments are.
Wow, that is a heavy price. I want to see what he does now.
Silence. Then hope. Dangerous hope. His mother stepped closer. You saw them? Yes. Aaron's eyes widened. The crown can be restored. Another voice echoed through the chamber. Cold. Mocking. Terrifying. No. Everyone turned. The entrance had shattered. Broken crystal covered the floor. Smoke drifted through the air. And standing in the doorway was Valor, the deep court commander, the killer of cities, the rider of Leviathans. His black armor was stained with blood. Threshold blood. Behind him stood dozens of elite warriors. The battle outside had already been lost. Valor removed his helmet. For the first time Cassian saw his face. And immediately understood why everyone feared him. He wasn't old. He wasn't monstrous. He looked almost human, which somehow made him worse. Because his eyes contained absolutely no mercy. Only obsession. His gaze moved past Cassian. Past Aaron. Past everyone. Until it settled on Cassian's mother. Then he smiled. You've hidden long enough. The chamber trembled. The Leviathan outside roared. And Valor slowly raised a crimson blade. I've come to collect what belongs to the deep court. The shattered entrance stood open behind Valor. Smoke drifted through the ruined doorway. The sounds of war echoed from every corridor of the archive. Threshold City was dying. And standing amid its collapse was the man responsible. Valor, commander of the deep court, destroyer of keepers, hunter of bloodlines. His crimson blade glowed in the darkness. The weapon seemed alive, breathing, hungry. Cassian's mother stepped forward. Immediately Aaron moved beside her. Then Tomas. Then every surviving guardian in the chamber. A final defensive line. Valor smiled. You still think numbers matter. The commander slowly removed one black glove. Ancient symbols covered his hand. Burn marks. Scars. Centuries of war carved into flesh. You never learn. Aaron raised his sword. We learn enough. Valor laughed. Then vanished. The movement happened so quickly Cassian almost missed it. 1 second the commander stood 20 feet away. The next, steel collided. Aaron flew across the chamber. The messenger crashed through a crystal pillar. Blood sprayed across glowing stone. The entire room gasped. Valor stood where Aaron had been. Calm, unhurried, terrifying. The difference in power was obvious. This wasn't a battle. It was an execution. Cassian's mother grabbed his arm. Run. No. Cassian. I'm not leaving. Another guardian attacked. Valor's blade flashed. The guardian fell instantly. The commander never even looked at him. His eyes remained fixed on Cassian. On the key. On destiny. You finally awakened it. The words chilled the room. Cassian frowned. You know about the key. I know everything about the key. Valor took another step. The deep court created it. Silence. Absolute silence. Even the battle outside seemed to disappear. Cassian stared. What? His mother looked horrified. That's impossible. No. Valor's smile widened. The first keeper wasn't our enemy. The room froze. Every belief, every story, every truth, suddenly uncertain. Valor pointed toward the crystal sphere. You've been shown fragments. The commander laughed softly. They never show the entire story. Cassian felt a growing sense of dread. What are you talking about? For the first time Valor's expression became serious, almost sad. Aurelian wasn't the jailer. He looked directly into Cassian's eyes. He was our king. The words struck like lightning. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The commander continued. The Deep Court and Threshold City were once one civilization. The crystal sphere suddenly reacted. Green light flickered violently, as if recognizing the statement. Valor spread his arms. We ruled together. Images began appearing around him, uncontrolled. Memories escaping the sphere. Ancient cities. Leviathans swimming beside silver towers. Humans and seaborn people walking together. No war. No prison. No division. Only peace. Cassian stared. The memories felt real. Too real. Then the images changed. Betrayal. Assassination. Fire. Civil war. A shattered crown. A broken kingdom. The crown of tides. Valor pointed toward the visions. They destroyed our future. His voice hardened. They broke the crown. The images vanished. The commander lowered his hand. And then they wrote history. Cassian looked toward his mother. She seemed shaken, uncertain, for the first time, because part of her believed it. Part of everyone believed it. The crystal sphere itself had responded. Then Valor smiled again. But none of that matters now. He pointed at Cassian. You know where the fragments are. The room grew cold. The commander slowly raised his blade. You will take me to them. No. The answer came instantly. Valor's smile disappeared. For the first time, Cassian stepped forward. The key glowed brighter. I don't care who was right centuries ago. The room watched. I don't care who started the war. Green light spread across the floor. The symbols of the archive awakened again. Cassian continued. But I won't help the man destroying cities. Valor's eyes narrowed. The commander lunged. Everything exploded into motion. Guardians charged. Energy erupted. The chamber became chaos. Cassian's mother shoved him backward. Go! Aaron, wounded but alive, grabbed Tomas. Move! The floor suddenly cracked. A massive section of the archive collapsed. Ancient stone fell into darkness. The city was reaching its breaking point. Cassian saw it then. The truth. They couldn't win here. Not tonight. Not against Valor. The crown fragments were their only chance. The key pulsed violently. The vision returned. The frozen mountain. The glass desert. The ruined temple. 3 fragments. 3 locations. 1 hope. Cassian looked at his mother. She understood immediately. You saw them again. He nodded. Aaron stepped beside them. We can still reach the portal chamber. Valor cut down another guardian. Getting closer. Much closer. There is no escape, the commander shouted. Cassian ignored him. The key suddenly projected a beam of green light. pathway, leading deeper into the archive, toward an unseen destination. The emergency route. The first keeper's route. Aaron's eyes widened. The key is guiding us. Another explosion shook the chamber. Threshold City screamed around them. Its towers collapsed. Its bridges shattered. Its ancient defenses failed. The hidden city was dying. Cassian looked back one final time. At the civilization that had protected his family for centuries. At the city his mother called home. At the people fighting for his future. Then he made his decision. We find the crown. His mother nodded. Aaron nodded. Tomas nodded. Even wounded and terrified. Together they followed the green path. Behind them Valor realized what was happening. His face twisted with fury. No! The commander unleashed a wave of crimson energy. The entire chamber exploded. Stone shattered. Light vanished. The floor collapsed beneath everyone. Cassian felt himself falling. The key burned in his hand. The green pathway became a tunnel of light. The world disappeared. And as darkness swallowed him, he heard Valor's final promise echoing through the collapsing archive. You can run across the world, Heir. A terrible laugh followed. But I will be waiting at the final fragment. The light consumed everything. Threshold City vanished. And Cassian fell into the unknown. Cassian hit the ground hard. For several seconds he couldn't breathe. The world spun around him. Dust filled the air. The key burned in his hand like living fire. Then the dizziness faded. He slowly sat up and realized everything had changed. The sky above him wasn't the sky of Threshold City, nor the sky of Saint Orlan. 3 moons hung overhead. Silver, blue, green. A frozen wind swept across endless white mountains. Snow stretched to every horizon. The first fragment. The vision had been real. Tomas groaned nearby. Aaron pushed himself up through the snow. Cassian's mother was already standing. Scanning the landscape, the mountain waited before them. A colossal peak rising into the clouds. At its summit glowed a faint blue light. The first fragment. We climb, Aaron said. No one argued. The journey took 2 days. Storms battered them. The cold cut through every layer of clothing. Twice they nearly fell from icy cliffs. And always, far behind them, crimson lights appeared on distant ridges. Valor was following. On the second night they reached the summit. At its center stood a crystal shrine, frozen into ancient ice. Inside floated a fragment of the crown, a shard of brilliant blue crystal. The moment Cassian touched it, the fragment dissolved into light and merged with the key. The key transformed. A second symbol appeared on its surface. 1 fragment restored. 2 remained. The next portal carried them to the glass desert, a place where golden sand stretched beneath a black sky. Ancient ruins protruded from dunes like the bones of giants. The second fragment waited inside a buried temple. But Valor arrived before they could escape. The battle was brutal. Threshold's remaining guardians fought beside Aaron. Tomas defended Cassian despite having no special powers. And for the first time Cassian used the key. Green energy erupted from his hands. Walls of light, shields, ancient abilities sleeping inside the bloodline. Yet even that wasn't enough. Valor was stronger, much stronger. During the battle Aaron fell. The messenger who had first emerged from the harbor doorway. The man who had guided them from the beginning. A crimson blade pierced his chest.
Now we have a real goal. But I feel the danger is only starting.
Aaron collapsed into the sand. Cassian caught him before he hit the ground. The messenger smiled weakly. Find the crown. Blood stained his lips. Finish what we started. Then he was gone. The loss nearly broke them. But they kept moving. Because they had no choice. The second fragment joined the key. Only 1 remained. The final portal opened. The ruined temple. Exactly as the vision had shown. It stood on an island surrounded by violent seas. Broken pillars stretched toward storm-filled heavens. Lightning illuminated ancient carvings. And waiting at the entrance stood Valor. Alone. No army. No Leviathans. Only him. The commander smiled. I told you I would be waiting. Cassian stepped forward. The completed fragments glowed inside the key. One final piece remained inside the temple behind Valor. The crown was within reach. Yet so was disaster. Valor raised his blade. You know the truth now. His voice echoed through the storm. The deep court was betrayed. Maybe, Cassian nodded. Maybe Threshold lied. The commander seemed surprised. But it doesn't change what you've become. Lightning flashed. Cassian looked directly at him. You want revenge. Valor's expression darkened. Justice. No. Cassian shook his head. You stopped seeking justice centuries ago. Silence followed. Then anger. Pure anger. The commander attacked. The final battle began. Storms raged around them. The ocean roared. Ancient powers collided. Crimson against green. Hatred against hope. Again and again they clashed. Neither willing to yield. Neither willing to fall. Until finally Valor gained the advantage. His blade pressed against Cassian's throat. The commander breathed heavily. Victory only moments away. Then Tomas intervened. Without hesitation. Without fear. He threw himself between them. The crimson blade pierced his chest. The world stopped. Tomas! Cassian caught his friend as he fell. Tomas smiled weakly. The same smile he had worn since childhood. You owe me a boat. A tear rolled down his cheek. Then his eyes closed forever. Something broke inside Cassian. Not grief. Not rage. Something deeper. Understanding. The war. The lies. The sacrifices. The centuries of hatred. None of it had ended anything. It had only created more loss. More graves. More pain. The key responded. The final fragment awakened inside the temple. The crown of tides appeared. Whole. Restored. Brilliant silver crystal floated into the storm. Every ocean in the world seemed to answer. Every tide. Every wave. Every Leviathan. Cassian approached it. Valor tried to stop him. But the crown chose its bearer. The ancient relic settled upon Cassian's head. Power surged through him. Not destructive power. Not military power. Something greater. Connection. For the first time Cassian felt the entire world. Every sea. Every life. Every heartbeat. And he understood. The first keeper's final lesson. Power was never meant to control. It was meant to protect. The oceans answered his call. Across the world, the Leviathans stopped. The deep court armies lowered their weapons. The war ended in a single moment. Valor fell to his knees. The centuries of vengeance finally exhausted. Cassian looked down at him. You can keep fighting. The storm began to fade. Or you can help rebuild. For a long time Valor said nothing. Then the commander dropped his blade. The war was over. Months later, Saint Orlan stood rebuilt. New homes. New docks. New beginnings. Threshold survivors emerged from hiding. Deep court refugees returned from exile. For the first time in centuries, both peoples worked together. Not because history was forgotten, because it was finally understood. At sunset, Cassian stood beside the harbor. His mother beside him. The sea calm once more. Far offshore, Leviathans moved peacefully beneath the waves. Guardians. Not monsters. Friends. The bells of Saint Orlan rang. Once. This time not as a warning, but as a promise. A promise that the tides would never again divide the world. Only connect it. And beneath the golden light of evening, Cassian Venn smiled. The keeper's journey was over. A new age had begun.
What a ride! From one strange bell to a new age for the whole world. If you enjoyed this story, stay with me for the next adventure.